Guys, it's Sign here, the HobbiesofaMan. Once again, and today we're talking about our check-in video for the month of July. So this is where I go over stuff that I've been reading and watching as of so far, just kind of to touch base with you guys and let you know how I'm doing. So today is the 14th. This video will come out on the 15th, halfway through the month. I've read through quite a bit of stuff, not as much as I would have liked, but there's been kind of a few changes in my life, right? So my old roommate and best friend, he graduated from college, I guess. So he got his PhD, or he at least presented his thesis, and it got accepted, so he became a doctor. And he moved back to Houston, where we're from, and he left, right? So me and my sister had to find a smaller apartment because we all live together. And so we did. So the first week of July was about moving. And then after that, I've just been kind of, swamped with schoolwork and stuff. And beyond that, it was also my birthday this weekend. And, I did get some reading throughout the week done. But ultimately, my birthday was spent just kind of going around places. My sister took me to lunch. We went down to see Superman, and we went to some comic book shops just to kind of browse. And there was this like Fantastic Four event that was supposed to be like a question and answer session that didn't actually end up being like that. It ended up just being like here, grab a poster, stay for a raffle. Hopefully you get the thing, and I didn't get the thing, so it is what it is. The thing that they were giving out, or that they were raffling off, was a very cool special like tin lunchbox, like an aluminum lunchbox, and it looked really great. I thought it was lovely, but obviously I didn't win it, so it is what it is. But other than that, I've been just chugging along with life. Nothing too crazy, nothing too bad, nothing too crazy or anything out of the ordinary. Just kind of been busy and kind of trying to get through moving and stuff, right? Thankfully, everything was set up. My parents came by. They stayed with us for a few days while they helped us move. It was actually very good that they did, thank God, because if they hadn't, I would still be moving, and it would have just taken way too long. And thankfully, my dad was like, okay, I don't really care. Just tell me where you want all of this stuff to be put up, and I'll take care of it, right? And so I just told him, okay, this sort of organization pattern. And he was like, okay, and he gave me he did all of the stuff that he needed to do, and so thankfully I was just able to go ahead and place everything where it needed to be. So thankfully it was very, very fast. And he did that around the house for my sister and for stuff in the living room as well. So, it was great. Thank God that my parents were willing to come up and help. And so that's kind of basically it for my normal life. My life outside of the YouTube channel. In terms of what this video is about, I watched quite a few movies and quite a few TV shows. Actually, that's not really true. I've watched 2 seasons of a TV show, and I've watched a few movies because when my family is here, actually when my dad is here, kind of like our bonding time is watching TV together. And since we couldn't actually move stuff all day every day for like 5 days in a row, we just we'd stop at night, right? So we would just watch TV during those times. And we started watching Halo. Pretty good show. Not really a show about Halo. Like, the lore isn't correct. The style of the story is good. Like, the execution looks like Halo, but it doesn't feel like Halo. And I think that's a lot to do with the fact that it's really just a generic sci-fi show that happened to have some similarities to Halo. And so the creators just said, hey, can we do this? And when they were told no, they were like, okay, but can we do it if it's Halo? So that people know it and we'll check it out early, right? And then they were allowed to do it. That's what that feels like. It's like someone wrote a sci-fi show, and when they weren't able to get it published or made, they decided to co-op something else that had a brand name recognition and tied it into their story. And that's kind of what the Halo show feels like. Beyond that, the Halo show is actually enjoyable to watch. It looks good. The story is not horrible. It's pretty fun overall. And the casting is pretty good. The only issue is that it's not properly Halo. Like, it doesn't follow real Halo lore. At least not completely. And the deviations that they do are pretty significant, where it's not Halo anymore. And so that kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. But overall, it was pretty fun. I watched both seasons. I enjoyed it. I kind of feel sad that the way that the show ends and the direct cancellation right after it ended means that there won't be another season, because it was kind of getting really good at this point. So that's disappointing. At the same time, thank God, maybe we'll get a proper Halo, adaptation at some other point, because I think that the Halo universe would be really great to have in a show. Live action would be cooler, but ultimately I think animated is probably the best, right? And if it's animated, you can do the whole origin story, which they basically do in this version as well. They tell us all of the origin story of Halo and the Spartans, right? But in an animated show, there could be a whole season that's just the Spartans becoming Spartans, and then the second season is only about Master Chief or some of the early missions, and then the third season is just about Master Chief and then the actual Halo stuff, right? I think that'd be probably the best way to do it. At this point, it might be another 30 years before we get another Halo adaptation, or it might be 5. I'm not really sure. With the way that stuff gets rebooted and relaunched all the time now, who knows when we'll get another Halo attempt, right? But this one was fine. It's not bad. It's just not great either. But yeah. Then I watched Jurassic World Rebirth. I saw a lot of people say that it's bad, or that it's, boring or whatever. And no, it's not bad. And no, it's not boring. It's just not original. And apparently people think that every movie ever has to be really, really original. And I don't think that that's true. At some point, some movies can just be the same movie over and over again, right? And they can still be good and enjoyable, and you don't have to request that everything or expect everything to be new, because Jurassic World Rebirth is not original. Everything that you've seen in this movie has been done before, and that's okay, because this movie is taking all of those scenes and combining them into a new order, and so it is different, right? Is it the best thing ever? No, not really. Was it a good way to spend a few hours on a 4th of July? Yes, it was. And it was really enjoyable, and I liked it, and I love dinosaurs, and the CGI effects were really good, and the story wasn't bad, and the character dynamics were pretty good. They're not the best because it's not really all that important. Mostly it's just about the animals being awesome, and it worked really well. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was good. Is it the greatest thing ever? No, not really, but not every movie has to be the greatest thing ever. I'm not really sure where everyone gets that impression, right? Then we watched Top Gun Maverick, because every time we visit our parents or our parents visit us, we watch Top Gun Maverick. It's just kind of like the movie that we watch together, and it's really great. I love this movie. It's awesome. Then we went to watch Thunderbolts. Actually, I think we watched Thunderbolts July 2nd, and then we watched Jurassic World Rebirth July 4th. And I watched it previously twice, actually. This was, I think, the third time that I've watched this movie. And I really enjoy it. I think it's really good. My sister really liked it as well. My parents weren't that interested in it. I think that the whole idea of the story being about mental health just doesn't work for them. Like, they don't get it as well as, me and my sister might do. And so I think that that's kind of where the disconnect comes from. But my dad did like it. He thought that Ray Guardian was really funny, and he enjoyed the fact that all of these characters are losers, and yet they managed to save the world. I think he liked that part. He just didn't really care about the final, like, we're all together better, or we're all better when we're together kind of message at the end, right? Then I went to watch F1. Basically, this movie, I think it was made by John Krasinski, I think is his name. Maybe it's not John, but Krasinski is his last name. And this guy is basically the guy that made sure Top Gun Maverick was Top Gun Maverick, right? Like, he was the director or the producer or something. I can't remember. But F1 is supposed to be the Top Gun Maverick of car movies, right? And, well, it's not. It doesn't get there, because the story lacks the kind of core theme of Top Gun Maverick, which is like family, right? Like, the defining character motivations and desires and needs of the movie are the connection between Rooster and Maverick, right? And so this movie, F1, doesn't have that connection, right? And because it doesn't have that connection, it doesn't reach the levels of, like, like hard-hitting, like, oh, I care about this kind of feelings that Top Gun Maverick, evokes. At the same time, it also doesn't reach that level of Top Gun Maverickness, because maybe it's just because cars are more common. Like, everyone knows what it feels like to drive a car, and everyone knows what it feels like, at least to some extent, how a car that's driving fast feels like. And In F1, the cars are driving 3 or 4 times as fast as a normal car might drive on a road, but when we're watching it, it doesn't necessarily feel that way, right? It feels faster than if you're driving your own car, but it doesn't quite feel as fast or as insane as what we see in Top Gun Maverick. And so, even though it's really exciting and enjoyable, it just doesn't manage to get to that peak, right? And so it doesn't land as well as Top Gun Maverick, but it's a really good movie anyways. I recommend you watch it in theaters, but you can wait until it comes out on Apple TV in a few months, right? Although I liked it enough to own it physically, so I might actually buy a DVD for it or a Blu-ray, but it's good. So it's just not as good as Top Gun Maverick. Then we have Superman. This is the latest movie that I watched, and it was really great. I liked it a lot. I think it was fun. I did have a review for it like 2 days ago, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's not necessarily the best superhero movie ever. It is for sure the best Superman movie I've ever seen, at least live action. And it is for sure a very hopeful, fun, zany, comic booky movie, right? But there are some issues with it that I mentioned before in the review. Basically, the structure of the movie doesn't feel like a single movie. It feels like a bunch of vignettes tied together that eventually create a movie. It's not the same thing. It might seem like there's not really a big difference, but it feels different. It doesn't feel like a single cohesive unit. It feels like a bunch of smaller units put together, right? It's kind of like the difference between biting into an apple and biting into an orange. The orange, like no one does this, right? But if you grab the full orange and you peeled it and then you bit into it, it would like crumble into pieces. An apple does not, right? It stays as a single piece and then you break off a portion of it, right? This movie feels like the orange, not like the apple, if that makes sense. I don't know why I thought of that comparison, but that's kind of the best way I can illustrate this because I feel like I didn't do a good job in that other video. But that's kind of my feelings there. At the same time, the character work was phenomenal. I love the way that Clark Kent and Superman were portrayed. Lex Luthor is hilariously evil and horribly, realistic, I guess. Jimmy Olsen's funny. Lois Lane is, snappy and hard around the edges. It's still beautiful and really fun. There's a surprise character that shows up at the very, very end that was fun. Crypto was wonderful. Mr. Terrific was probably the standout. I loved Isabella Merced as Hawkgirl. I really enjoy her screeching because it looks horrible, but also really works, and I like that. And the feel of the movie was great. It's just not necessarily perfect. And that's okay. Like I said, I don't really need every movie ever to be perfect. I maybe only need a few movies to be perfect, and most of that is like Star Wars stuff. And, well, at this point, Star Wars can't be perfect anymore, so it is what it is. But overall, I had a great time with all the movies that I watched. I really, really enjoyed everything that I've seen so far this month. I did start watching the G.I. Joe movies last night for whatever reason. I kind of wanted to, I've been thinking about it for a while. I want to get into G.I. Joe. But I saw one of the comic book compendiums that they've been recently releasing for Transformers, and I didn't like how it was created. It just felt kind of lame. Even though it was a big honking book, it just didn't feel that great. So if G.I. Joe is gonna be like that, I don't want to read that. I'll have to wait for a different version of it, or find some other way to enjoy it, maybe digitally. But I wanted to get into G.I. Joe. And I remember the movies. I know that they're not that good, but they're pretty fun. So I was going to watch it again, and I started. And halfway through, I was like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. But I did enjoy myself watching through most of it. It's pretty fun. So hopefully I'll finish it, and maybe the rest of them in the series by the end of the month. And I'll talk about them again later. So yeah, everything that I've been watching has been great. I've enjoyed myself a lot, and it's been wonderful. So let's move on to what I've been reading. I did read the first 2 volumes of Snowball Earth. I read them online on the Viz app, on the Viz app, the Viz Media app, and it's really good. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought that I wasn't going to like it because when I looked it up previously, I thought the art style was kind of weird. The art style is a little bit weird, but it works. And the story is actually pretty fun. It's pretty enjoyable. It almost feels like if you took Ender's Game and you were like, okay, it's about kaiju, not about aliens. And what happens when the world changes after the character comes back from the war. And it's pretty good. I actually enjoyed it a lot. Once you get started, it goes by pretty quickly. And once it's, kind of going by, you're really invested in it, and it's really enjoyable. So I'm going to do a review for that at some point here soon. But Snowball Earth was pretty good. Then I read a bunch of comic books, actually. We're kind of doing this out of order. It doesn't really make too much of a difference since it's not too much. But I read Conan the Barbarian number 22. Amazing, amazing book. Then we have the Marvel Swimsuit Special. This was fine. Some of the artwork here was phenomenal. Some of it was kind of whatever. Then I read this Fantastic Four, Wolverine, and Storm Marvel Must Have. Pretty cool. I like the cover there. It's really fun. Godzilla vs. Thor. Pretty good. Probably the second best out of these Godzilla versus Marvel books. Ultimate Spider-Man number 18. Pretty enjoyable as well. I did reviews for all of these, so I'm not talking about them too much. Lilith number 4. This continues to be fun. This continues to be kind of like if Vampirella and Aaron Solstice from The Wandering Inn interacted with each other. Pretty fun, pretty enjoyable. Not necessarily the greatest thing ever though. And if, it came out on time, I would probably quit the story quite a while back. But since it comes out every, a disparate amount of time, by the time I think about quitting it, the new issue has come out and I'm like, okay, I'll just keep it because it's easier for me to just buy it than for my store to have to deal with stocking it for a while and probably never selling it because very few people are interested. So I just end up buying them. And at this point, it's 2 issues from the end, so I'll just finish collecting it. We have Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman, not Superwoman, Wonder Woman. And this was great. I actually really, really enjoyed it. The art style here is phenomenal. Belen Ortega does an amazing job. I hope that she continues to do well. And maybe she should get a creator-owned series started at Image. I think that'd be really, really nice. Or work with other creators in DC to make other series. I think she'd do really good in a Starfire series or another kid's book in the DC universe. Maybe something tying into the New Gods, right? Because the New Gods, 2 of the characters have a kid, right? Mr. Miracle and Big Barda have a kid. So that might be a fun kind of story. Or she might actually end up working on those like webtoon type ones that are kind of more silly, slice of lifey. I think that her art style is really, really great. And it's good for action, but it works really nicely for these more like kid-oriented kind of feelings. It just like works really nicely to evoke that kind of like, oh, this is really cute kind of feeling. So I hope that we get to see more of her beyond this story. And then we have the Savage Sword of Conan, number 9. This is a great issue. I really enjoyed the story here. So there's 2 stories. There's a Conan and Valeria story, and then there's a King Cole story. The King Cole story is not that good. It's not that bad either, so I thought it was fine. But the Conan and Valeria story was phenomenal. It was by Pat Searcher. Really, really good. And then I read Superman Treasury 2025, A Hero for All. This is a great book. I loved it. The size is insane, and I really am happy that I picked this up. I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I don't want this. And then I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll buy it because it's the only time I'll probably ever get a chance to buy a Treasury edition. And I'm so glad that I did because it's wonderful. The thing is that I don't have a bag and board for this, although I did buy some and they should be arriving today. So hopefully I'll be able to put it in a bag and board because it's only been 2 or 3 days since I bought this and it already has some wear and tear there. And I it's not just because I'm bad at taking care of my books. It's just like this book is so massive that it's just really easy to kind of like bang it up against places and things. And it just kind of damages it a little bit. So I'm a bit upset about that, but also it's not that big a deal. Once I put it in my bag and board, it'll be fine. So I read that. Also read Sora and the House of Monsters, book 4. This was great. I really, really loved it. It's really fun because this one focuses on the origin story for the dwarf characters. So if you're not aware, Sora is a human character. She was raised as a soldier from birth, and she's very powerful. And because the war ended right before she was able to start her career as a soldier, she kind of lost her reason to live. And so she goes off and kind of explores and eventually ends up finding these 2 little dwarf characters that build houses for monsters. And she initially is like, oh, this is bad. If we build houses for monsters, they're going to develop their power and then they're going to turn into a problem later on down the road. But as she hangs out with these dwarves and kind of goes with them and helps them build houses for these monsters, kind of because she's watching them, she ends up realizing that giving housing to people that need it is actually a really wonderful, great thing to do. And at this point, they've gone through a few adventures together, and so she's like, okay, I want to know why you guys are the way you are. And so we get into the origin story of the characters. And it's really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I think it's great. I can't wait for the next issue, the next volume. And it's really wonderful. I recommend you guys check that out. Then I read through The Fantastic Four by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. This is the Penguin Classics Collection edition of the Fantastic Four. So this covers kind of a weird amalgamation of issues. So let's see if I can pull them up here. So it's 1 through 5, then it jumps to 10 and 11, then it jumps to 48, all the way to 51, then annual number 6. And then we have a extra bit here where we get to see the original Submariner book, or the original issue for the Submariner. And this is a really good book. It does a great job at explaining to you why the Fantastic Four are important, what their motivations are, what they are as people. Then it shows you how they got there. And it doesn't do it perfectly because the development of the Fantastic Four into what we think today and what we're going to see in the movie is over 60 years, right? But a lot of those key moments were done within the first 50 issues. And because of the size constraint, we can't see all of that development, but we can see kind of the highlights, right? So we see the highlights at the beginning, the introduction of all of their very main characters, the introduction of the idea of this family. And the thing is that in those first 5 issues, the family dynamic isn't clear yet. We get Reed and Susan, who are mom and dad, but they're not mom and dad yet because they're friends, but not in a relationship yet. They're not married. And so they fill the role of mom and dad, but they're not really mom and dad yet, right? And Johnny, of course, is the younger brother character. He ends up being the kid substitute in this case. And then Ben, being Reed's friend, but also in a really antagonistic relationship with him initially because he's just angry at his transformation, comes off as more of a rival than a uncle character. But throughout the rest of the story, as we get to, slide into issues 11 and 10, and then into issue 50, we can see how that relationship has changed, how Ben Grimm, comes to understand himself and comes to be better written by Stan Lee, and finally smooths out a little bit and becomes that uncle character that you kind of expect, right? That brother to Reed character that you expect. And it works really, really nicely over time, but because of the constraints, we don't get to see those actual smoothing outs of the edges, right? We only get to see when it's really rocky and really rough, and then, and it's kind of funny that we're talking about Ben Grimm and I'm using these like rock terminology metaphors, right? It's really rough and kind of abrasive, and then at the end, it's really, really smooth, and it works really well, and it fits what you expect of the Fantastic Four. So I really enjoyed that, but, I feel like I do still have to go and collect the Epic Collection so I can read through all of it. And that's going to be pretty hard because the Epic Collections basically print once, and then good luck if you didn't get them the first time. It's going to be impossible to find them. But I do want to find myself at least the first original run, maybe the first 100 issues or so of Fantastic Four at some point. So recommend it a lot. I think that this was a great collection. I got this for about $11 last year, brand new from Amazon because of a Prime Day sale plus a coupon that Amazon had. I don't think you'll ever get to do that. It was a very lucky find at the time. But at some point it might happen. But I recommend these books. They're really, really good. And I recommend that you guys read some of this early stuff before you go to the movie. I think it'll really, really work for you, right? So I like that. Then we read Solomon Kane number 4. This is great. Actually, I read this beforehand. I think Fantastic Four was the first book that I finished reading this month. And then I just kind of ended up reading a bunch of other stuff separately, right? Throughout the month, but I didn't bother to kind of do it in order. Let's see, is there anything else that I'm missing? Yes, I forgot to mention it, but I did read a light novel. It's called Do You Like Me, Not My Daughter, or You Like Me, Not My Daughter. It's a really silly rom-com type story. It follows a college guy who is in love with his neighbor, who is a mom cougar character, single mom, older lady, about 30. She's raising his neighbor, who is a teenage girl. She's about 4 or 5 years younger than our main character, Taku. And he's in love with her mom. Or, it basically is like a Stacy's mom. like the light novel kind of story. And it's pretty funny, mostly because it feels very wholesome and also really weird. And it's really fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it's really enjoyable. I do like it. I will continue to collect it, but I don't know when, because I don't like buying light novels for more than a few dollars at a time. Basically, I buy most light novels from Bookwalker. And on Bookwalker, you don't actually get to download the books, so you don't own them. So I basically only buy the books on Bookwalker when they're about $1. And it's pretty unlikely that that series will ever go back to being $1. However, if it ever does, if I can buy it from J Novel Club directly, or maybe just buy it from them directly next time that I want to read one of these books, I might do that, because J Novel Club does let you download the books directly from their website. So I might do that instead. But those cost $7, so I'm not really sure. But it doesn't matter too much. It's a good fun. It's a good fun book. There should be a review for it on the channel already. I think I released it today, so go watch it if you're interested. And then finally, the only other thing that I've been reading this month so far is this, Lawrence Block's The Girl with the Deep Blue Eyes. This is a pretty interesting PI novel. Really nice cover there as well. Looks really beautiful. I'm only a third of the way through, and it's a pretty weird book so far. It's still kind of in the setup phase. Follows this guy who retired from the NYPD, moved down to Florida, and now works as a private eye, just kind of on the side whenever he needs some money. For whatever reason, he gets called in because a woman, a young, hot woman, is going to kill her husband. And he's get called in to act like the murderer. And then as he kind of thinks about it, he kind of falls in love with this girl. He thinks that she's really hot. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to help her. And hopefully try to dissuade her from killing her husband, but take advantage of the situation. And so in the part that I'm reading now, they've just met properly for the first time. They're kind of getting into each other. They're flirting. I think they kind of land in bed by the time that I stop reading for the night. And it's kind of silly because this guy has this like fantasy that he's trying to play out with this woman, and it seems like it's going to be pretty dangerous because this lady is kind of crazy, and should she want to murder her husband for real, this could get out of hand, right? So I think it's really interesting. It's a good novel. It's written in a pretty interesting way where it's very crass, but also not very vivid, if that makes sense. It's kind of weird, but it works out pretty well, and I'm really enjoying it. So I will continue to read this throughout the month, hopefully finish it soon. And that's basically all I've read this one. So let me know what you guys have been reading so far. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.